Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Lina and today I want to talk to you about IELTS and PTE and which one I think is better. Well, I do think that PTE is better, but it's only my opinion, although it is based on facts. So you may have a different opinion or experience, but anyway, I want to share my experience. So then I started going through those tests. I started with IELTS and I think that IELTS is just more well known and a lot of people do start with it until they don't succeed and then they start looking for other options. So that was my case, and with IELTS it took me 5-6 months just going through those tests, and I did it 6 times, meaning that I have spent over $2,000, and I also purchased some lessons online because I was only struggling in writing part. In other parts, I would always reach 8. That was the score that I needed, but in the writing part, no matter how much I practiced. And I purchased some video lessons from Liz where she was teaching the structure and types of the essays. So I would think that I have nailed it, and I went there and I did it the way it was required, but I would never get a score of 8. So that's why I gave up on IELTS and started to try with PTE. And my experience with PTE was that the very first time when I went, after just preparing by myself, I was able to reach the score of 65, but it wasn't enough for me because to be able to apply for a permanent residency, which was my goal, I had to reach 79. So I went few times just doing preparation on my own and I wasn't able to reach the score of 79. So then I took some private lessons, and again, you know, it is investing. I was paying $80 per lesson, and then I went again, but I still wasn't able to reach the score. And then I enrolled into some school in the city and I attended the classes. So after and I paid $550 for those classes. So then for the 5th time, after all those classes and all that effort, I went and did the test, and I got 90s in all 4 areas. So although I was struggling in the beginning, after doing a good preparation, it is really achievable and you can definitely reach 79 and more like I did. So now I just want to discuss more and compare IELTS and PTE and why I think PTE is better. So I'm gonna start with IELTS and why I think it's not as good. So with the IELTS test, you can only do it at 9 a.m. in the morning and only on certain days. So my point is that it's not that flexible, and they do the test for large groups, meaning that you are waiting in lines, and then it gets really time consuming, and then speaking part you're doing separately, and you may get your speaking time after maybe 2 hours after you did other parts. So again, it's a lot of waiting, so you have to waste at least half a day, if not most of the day, for that. And it's done in an old-fashioned way, like they are handing the papers, and all that takes a lot of time. And another point is that you need to talk to the person in the speaking part, and some people may get nervous and they may find it stressful, which leads to another point, that in speaking and writing parts you are scored by the person. So that is biased. You know, they may not like you, or they may not like your ideas, like what you're saying, or the ideas that you wrote about in your essay. So it is biased. And I think the biggest disadvantage of IELTS as opposed to PTE is that you're being tested just on one skill at a time. So when you're doing the writing part, you're only getting points for writing just from that part. So if you're struggling just with one part like I was only struggling with writing, although I was very good in other parts. You cannot get points for writing from other tasks like you can in PTE. So that may be the reason you may be just stuck with one part and not be able to reach your score. So you keep trying and not succeed. And now let's talk about PTE and what I find are the best advantages of it. So as opposed to IELTS, PTE is very flexible with times. At least here in Sydney, they have 4 times per day that when you can do the test. It's 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. and they do it from Monday to Sunday. So it doesn't matter what your schedule is. If you're studying and working or whatever that is for you, you can always find the time that works for you. Although you need to wait for an appointment for a while. But at least you have that flexibility. And some they say that they are only productive in the morning, so they may not get the high score if they do it in the evening. To that I can say that the last test that I took, where I reached all 490s, I did it at 8 p.m. and I was still able to do it very well. So see what works for you, but at least you have that choice and a lot of options with times. And as well, PTE test centers, they are usually smaller, so there are small groups of people and everything goes faster, so you can come just 20 minutes prior to the test and that's absolutely enough, and you do everything in one room just at your desk, so you don't need to move around and wait in lines. So it's just way less stressful and more time efficient. And another point is that you don't need to talk to the person, you do everything on the computer. So for those who are more like introverted and don't want to be talking to the person, I think it's much easier and it's way less stressful. And that leads to that you are being scored by the computer, so it's unbiased, and the computer doesn't judge you for your ideas. Like if you get the task to describe the image, whatever facts you choose to talk about, that's fine. Doesn't matter if they are the most important or least important, as long as it's related to the content and it's there on the image, it's absolutely fine. And the same with the essay. It doesn't matter, which side you choose to support and what ideas you give, as long as it's related to the subject, it's absolutely fine. The computer doesn't care about your opinion. As long as your grammar, your spelling and everything is in place, it's absolutely fine. And the most important thing, I think, is that you are being tested in few skills at a time. Meaning while you're doing your speaking part, you also are able to get some points for writing, reading and listening. And if you're struggling in one area, let's say like I was struggling in writing, then I can find out in which questions I am getting points for writing from other parts, and I can try to do those questions very well, and that increases my writing. So I think all those points make PTE seem much better and unbiased. So at least that is my opinion. If you have different opinion, please let me know. And the question I want to ask you today, guys, is if you have tried IELTS and PTE already, and how many times. So if in the comments below you could write something like IELTS 6, PTE 5, that would mean that you have already did those attempts. And I think it would be interesting to know for everyone, so we would know what other people are going through, and it makes us feel better that it's not only us struggling and doing it so many times. So if you could write that in the comments, that would be great. As well, I want to say that what I have learned from my private lessons and classes, I'm putting to those videos. So go to my channel and make sure that you watch all the videos if you are still preparing for PTE test, because that information is very important if you want to reach a higher score. And as well, don't just listen, but take notes and make sure that you apply all those tips. If you have questions about it, you can always ask it in the comments below the videos, and I hope that it will help you to prepare for your exam, so you don't need to go as many times and spend as much money. So I hope it was helpful, and that's it for today. Don't forget to write how many times you have already tried each test, and I'll speak to you next day. Bye.